He was the man who could make anyone laugh, yet no one could save him from the darkness that lived inside his own mind. On a quiet August morning in 2014, the world woke to a silence that felt heavier than any sound could ever be. A silence where laughter used to live, where a voice that had filled stadiums, cinemas, and living rooms with joy had suddenly and permanently fallen quiet. The news spread like a shockwave across every continent, leaving billions in disbelief. Because how could the man who gave voice to a genie, who inspired a generation of poets, who made us believe in the power of kindness and the importance of seizing the day, possibly be gone? How could someone who brought so much light to the world have extinguished his own? This is the story of Robin McLaurin Williams, a man whose genius was matched only by his pain, whose life was a paradox of dazzling brilliance and profound suffering, and whose legacy continues to resonate in ways that are as heartbreaking as they are inspiring. Before he became the whirlwind of comedic energy that the world came to know and adore, before the fame, the awards, and the adoration, Robin McLaurin Williams was simply a lonely boy growing up in the sprawling suburbs of Chicago, a child who would eventually learn that the fastest way to fill an empty room was with laughter. Born on July 21, 1951, at St. Luke's Hospital in Chicago, Illinois, Robin entered a world of privilege but also one of profound isolation. His father, Robert Fitzgerald Williams, was a senior executive at the Ford Motor Company, a man of stature and seriousness who commanded respect in the boardroom but was often absent from the living room. His mother, Laurie McLaurin, was a former model from New Orleans, a woman of great beauty and wit who was descended from a long line of Mississippi politicians, including a grandfather who had served as a state senator and governor. But despite the family's wealth and status, the Williams household was not a particularly warm one. Robin was the only child of his parents' marriage, though he had two much older half-brothers from their previous relationships, a fact that left him feeling like an only child in a house full of adults. His parents were often busy with their own lives and careers, leaving young Robin to entertain himself in the vast, imposing family home. He would later recall spending countless hours playing alone with his 2,000 toy soldiers, each of which he gave a different voice, a different personality, a different life. It was in this solitary play that the seeds of his genius were first sown, a coping mechanism that would evolve into a world-class talent. He was a chubby, introverted child who struggled to make friends and was frequently bullied by other kids, a painful experience that would leave deep scars. Comedy became his shield, his defense mechanism, a way to deflect the cruelty of the world and, more importantly, a way to get attention. He discovered that if he could make his mother laugh, he could fill the void of her absence, if only for a moment. The Williams family moved frequently due to his father's career, a nomadic lifestyle that only compounded Robin's sense of rootlessness. They lived in Chicago, then Detroit, then a succession of other suburbs, each move forcing Robin to start over, to re-establish himself in a new school, to find a new way to fit in. He attended the prestigious Detroit Country Day School in Michigan, where his academic performance was unremarkable, but his ability to make his classmates laugh was already becoming legendary. He wasn't the class clown in the traditional sense. He was something more, a force of nature, a human hurricane of impressions and voices that could turn a mundane classroom into a stage. In 1963, when Robin was 12, the family's journey took them to California, settling in the affluent Marin County, just north of San Francisco. It was here, at Redwood High School, that Robin Williams's life truly began to change. He joined the drama club, and for the first time, he found a place where his peculiar talents were not just tolerated but celebrated. The stage became his sanctuary, a world where his boundless energy and wild imagination could be channeled into something productive. He was no longer the odd, overweight kid. He was the star of the show. His teachers recognized his raw, untamed talent, and for the first time, Robin Williams felt like he belonged. After graduating from high school, He enrolled at Claremont Men's College, where he studied political science, a subject he quickly found to be a poor match for his restless spirit. He dropped out and instead found his way to the College of Murren, where he fell in love with the art of theatre, studying classical acting under the legendary drama Professor James Dunn. It was here that his raw comedic instincts began to be tempered with discipline, where he learned that there was a craft beneath the chaos. In 1973, Robin Williams achieved a feat that would set the stage for everything that followed. He was accepted into the prestigious Juilliard School in New York City, one of only 20 students admitted to the drama division that year. It was a full scholarship, a validation of his immense potential. At Juilliard, he was a paradox, a classically trained actor with a manic, uncontrollable comedic energy. He studied under the esteemed John Houseman, learning the rigorous techniques of Shakespeare and the classics. It was here that he met and befriended Christopher Reeve, a fellow student who would become one of his closest and most enduring friends. The two were complete opposites in many ways. Reeve was tall, handsome, and reserved, the picture of a leading man, while Williams was a whirlwind of nervous energy and improvisation. But they formed an unbreakable bond, recognizing in each other a kindred spirit, a fellow artist who understood the sacrifices and the loneliness of the pursuit of greatness. While at Juilliard, Williams's improvisational genius quickly surfaced, leaving his teachers and classmates in awe. He could pull a character out of thin air, transform himself in an instant, and hold an audience spellbound with nothing but his voice and his body. Yet, the classical world of Juilliard was ultimately too confining for his restless soul. He found himself increasingly drawn to the raw, unfiltered energy of stand-up comedy, a world far removed from the hallowed halls of the conservatory. In 1976, after 3 years of study, Robin Williams made the bold and terrifying decision to leave Juilliard without graduating to pursue a career in stand-up comedy. It was a gamble that could have easily destroyed his career before it even began. He moved to San Francisco and Los Angeles, immersing himself in the gritty, competitive world of comedy clubs. It was a brutal apprenticeship. He would perform for meager tips, sleeping on friends' couches, honing his craft night after night in front of often hostile crowds. But his talent was undeniable. He was a human dynamo on stage, a blur of motion and sound, his mind working faster than anyone could possibly follow. He would riff on anything, creating entire worlds and characters out of thin air, leaving audiences breathless with laughter. He released a comedy album, Reality. What a concept, which showcased his unique, stream-of-consciousness style. His big break came in 1978, not from a stand-up stage, but from a chance appearance on the hit television show Happy Days. He played a strange, silver-suited alien named Mork from the planet Ork. It was a small role, meant to be a one-off joke, but Williams's performance was so electric, so wildly inventive, that it stole the entire episode. The audience response was overwhelming, and the show's producer, Gary Marshall, immediately recognized that he had stumbled upon something extraordinary. He offered Williams his own spin-off series, and Mork Mindy was born. The show, which premiered in 1978 and ran for 4 seasons, was an instant phenomenon. Williams's portrayal of the innocent, childlike alien trying to understand the bizarre customs of Earth was a perfect vehicle for his improvisational genius. He would often go off-script, ad-libbing wildly, and the show's producers, recognizing that his improvisations were often funnier than anything they could write, simply let him go. Mork Mindy made Robin Williams a household name almost overnight. He was suddenly everywhere, on magazine covers, on talk shows, in the collective consciousness of America. He had become a star, but the intense pressure and the relentless pace of fame would soon take a heavy toll. The transition from television to film was a natural next step, and Williams's first leading role on the big screen was a bold and unusual choice: the title role in Robert Altman's 1980 live-action adaptation of Popeye. The film was a critical and commercial mixed bag, but it demonstrated Williams's willingness to take risks and his ability to disappear into a character, even one as iconic as the spinach-eating sailor. Over the next several years, he starred in a string of films that showcased his range, from the quirky and tragicomic The World According to Garp in 1982 to the poignant Moscow on the Hudson in 1984, in which he played a Russian musician who defects to America. But it was his role as the manic, irreverent radio DJ Adrian Cronar in 1987's Good Morning, Vietnam that truly cemented his status as a major film star. The film was a perfect showcase for his genius, allowing him to unleash his improvisational fury in the radio broadcast scenes while also demonstrating a profound dramatic depth in the quieter, more somber moments. He received his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor for the role. The following year, he delivered what many consider to be his most iconic performance, that of the unorthodox, inspiring English teacher John Keating in 1989's Dead Poets Society. His portrayal of the passionate educator who urges his students to seize the day and find their own voice resonated with audiences around the world, earning him another Academy Award nomination and cementing his place in cinematic history. He was no longer just a comedian. He was a formidable dramatic actor, capable of moving audiences to tears as easily as he could make them laugh. The 1990s would prove to be his most commercially successful and creatively fertile decade. He continued to demonstrate his dramatic chops in films like Awakenings and The Fisher King, for which he received a third Oscar nomination. He also delivered one of his most beloved comedic performances as the desperate, cross-dressing father in 1993's Mrs. Doubtfire, a role that showcased his unparalleled physical comedy and his ability to find the profound heart in even the silliest of premises. And then there was the role that would define a generation: the genie in Disney's 1992 animated masterpiece Aladdin. Williams's voice work in that film was a revelation, a tour de force of improvisational energy that turned a supporting character into the star of the show. He recorded hours of dialogue, most of which was improvised, filling the role with a manic, pop-culture referencing energy that had never been seen in an animated film before. He created a character that was as funny for adults as it was for children, a comedic genius at the absolute peak of his powers. Yet, for all his professional success, Robin Williams's personal life was a complex and often tumultuous tapestry of love, loss, and longing. He was married 3 times, each relationship reflecting a different chapter in his life and revealing different facets of his complicated personality. His first wife was Valerie Velarde, whom he married in 1978. She was a fellow performer, and their relationship was intense, passionate, and ultimately unsustainable. In 1983, they welcomed their only child together, a son named Zachary P.Y.M. Williams. But the pressures of Williams's skyrocketing career, combined with his struggles with addiction, took a toll on the marriage. Williams himself admitted to infidelity, and the couple divorced in 1988. Just a year later, in 1989, Williams married Marcia Garces, who had been the nanny for his son Zach. The marriage was scandalous at the time, but it proved to be a more stable partnership. Together, they had 2 children, a daughter, Zelda Ray Williams, and a son, Cody Allen Williams. Marcia also became a producing partner, working with him on several films and helping to manage his career. They founded a production company together, Blue Wolf Productions. The marriage lasted for over 2 decades, finally ending in divorce in 2010. His third marriage was to Susan Schneider, a graphic designer he met in an Apple store in late 2007. They married in 2011, and she was his wife at the time of his death. Susan would later become a passionate advocate for raising awareness about Lewy body dementia, the disease that was ultimately responsible for her husband's tragic final months. Despite his fame and fortune, Williams was a deeply sensitive and often insecure man. He craved connection and validation, but he also struggled with a profound sense of loneliness. He was a devoted father, and his children were the center of his world. He was fiercely protective of them and deeply proud of their accomplishments. He also maintained close friendships, most notably with Christopher Reeve, whose catastrophic horse riding accident in 1995 left him paralyzed. Williams was a constant source of support for his friend, paying for his medical expenses and visiting him regularly, always managing to make him laugh even in the darkest of times. He was a man who gave generously of his time, his money, and his heart to those he loved. A man who, despite his own demons, was a constant source of light for others. At the height of his fame, Robin Williams lived a life of considerable luxury, a stark contrast to the lonely, isolated childhood he had endured. He owned a series of spectacular homes, most notably his sprawling estate in the Seacliff neighborhood of San Francisco, a palatial mansion he purchased for $3.2 million in 1991. The home was a stunning architectural masterpiece, featuring breathtaking views of the Golden Gate Bridge and the Pacific Ocean. It was a place of immense beauty and tranquility, a sanctuary from the relentless demands of Hollywood. He also owned a magnificent property in the exclusive enclave of Paradise Key in Tiburon, California, a waterfront mansion with sweeping views of the San Francisco Bay. He bought this home in 2008 for just over $4 million, and it was here that he spent his final days. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated to be around $50 million, a testament to his decades of success. However, this fortune had been significantly diminished by the costs of his two expensive divorces, which reportedly cost him tens of millions of dollars. He was known for his generosity, often giving away money to friends and charitable causes without a second thought. He had a passion for collecting bicycles, particularly high-end custom bikes from the Italian brand Pegoretti. He also had a fondness for classic cars, and was often seen driving a Mercedes-Benz 280 SE, a classic that suited his unique and timeless charm. Despite his wealth and success, Williams never lost his down-to-earth nature. He was known for his kindness and humility, often treating fans and strangers with the same warmth and respect he afforded his closest friends. He was a man of immense contradictions, a global superstar who felt like an outsider, a multimillionaire who fretted about money, a comedic genius who was haunted by profound sadness. Beneath the dazzling veneer of success and laughter, Robin Williams was waging a secret, brutal war against his own mind. His struggles with addiction were well documented, a dark undercurrent that ran through much of his adult life. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, as his fame was exploding, he developed a serious addiction to cocaine and alcohol. He would later describe the drug as a way to hide, to escape the relentless pressure and the gnawing anxiety that plagued him. The pace of his life was manic, and cocaine seemed to fuel the fire, allowing him to maintain the relentless energy that was his trademark. "I was crazy back then, working all day, partying all night," he would admit. The turning point came in 1982 when his first wife, Valerie, was pregnant with their son Zach. He made the decision to quit both cocaine and alcohol cold turkey, a remarkable act of willpower that he maintained for nearly 2 decades. He credited his sobriety to his family, to the love he had for his children. But the demons were never truly vanquished. After 20 years of sobriety, he suffered a relapse in 2003, succumbing to temptation while on a movie set in Alaska. The following year, the death of his close friend Christopher Reeve in 2004 sent him into a deep spiral of grief, and he turned to alcohol once more. He checked himself into a treatment center in 2006, recommitting to his sobriety, but the battle was a constant, exhausting struggle. Beyond the addiction, Williams also suffered from severe depression and anxiety. He was a man who felt things deeply, who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. In the years leading up to his death, his mental health deteriorated significantly, and he experienced a frightening array of symptoms, including paranoia, confusion, and extreme anxiety. He was misdiagnosed with Parkinson's disease in May 2014, a diagnosis that only added to his fear and despair. The truth, which would only be discovered after his death, was far more devastating. He was suffering from Lewy body dementia, a progressive and often misdiagnosed brain disorder that causes a devastating combination of cognitive decline, movement problems, and psychiatric symptoms. It is a cruel and insidious disease that robs a person of their mind, their memories, and their very sense of self. The final months of Robin Williams's life were a period of profound suffering and confusion. He was working on several projects, including the film Boulevard, a low-budget indie drama that would be his final screen role, and he was also planning a return to stand-up comedy, a testament to his relentless drive to create. But publicly, he seemed fragile, his usual manic energy replaced by a palpable sense of weariness. Those close to him noticed a change, a flicker of something dark behind his eyes. His wife, Susan, later described his final days as a period of intense anguish. He was plagued by insomnia, paranoia, and a terrifying inability to control his own thoughts. He was terrified of what was happening to his mind, and he felt like he was losing himself. On the night of August 10, 2014, he went to bed early. He was seen by his wife at around 10 o'clock that night. The next morning, on August 11, 2014, a Monday, Robin Williams was found dead in his bedroom at his home in Paradise Key, Tiburon, California. He was 63 years old. The coroner's investigation would later rule his death as suicide by asphyxia due to hanging. An autopsy revealed no alcohol or illegal drugs in his system, confirming that he had been sober at the time of his death. The world was utterly shocked. The news spread with the speed of wildfire, leaving billions in a state of collective grief. It seemed impossible, unfathomable, that the man who had given so much joy to the world could have been in such profound pain. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Social media was flooded with tributes from fans, friends, and fellow celebrities, all expressing their disbelief and their profound sorrow. President Barack Obama issued a statement, calling Williams one of a kind who touched every element of the human spirit. The world had lost a beloved figure, and the silence that followed his death was deafening. In the aftermath of his death, a private funeral service was held at Mante's Chapel of the Hills in San Anselmo, California, attended only by his closest family and friends. The actor was cremated the day after he died, and his ashes were scattered in the San Francisco Bay, off the coast of Marin County, a final resting place that overlooked the city and the ocean he had loved so much. The tributes continued to pour in from around the world. Memorials were held in his honor, and his films were re-released to a new generation of fans. His daughter, Zelda, captured the collective grief of the world when she said that the world was forever a little darker, less colorful, and less full of laughter without him. But it was in the weeks and months following his death that the full, tragic picture of his final years began to emerge. The autopsy revealed the devastating truth. Robin Williams had been suffering from diffuse Lewy body dementia, a condition that had ravaged his brain. His widow, Susan, became a powerful advocate for Lewy body dementia awareness, speaking openly about the disease that had taken her husband's life. She explained that his battle with depression was not a failure of will or character, but a symptom of a brutal neurological disease that had robbed him of his mind. The revelation reframed his death, not as an act of weakness, but as the tragic culmination of a battle against an invisible, relentless enemy. It was a heartbreaking comfort to his millions of fans, who had struggled to understand how a man who had given so much happiness could have been so unhappy. It was a powerful reminder that the human mind is a fragile thing, and that even the brightest lights can be extinguished by the darkness of disease. Robin Williams left behind a legacy that is as vast and varied as his own. Extraordinary talent. He was a comedic genius, a once-in-a-generation talent whose improvisational skills were unmatched. He was a dramatic actor of profound depth and sensitivity, capable of conveying the full spectrum of human emotion with a single glance. He was a cultural icon, a man whose films and characters have become woven into the very fabric of our collective consciousness. He inspired generations of comedians and actors, proving that comedy and drama are not opposites but two sides of the same artistic coin. He showed us that laughter is not just a form of entertainment, but a powerful tool for healing, for connection, and for survival. His performance as John Keating in Dead Poets Society will forever be a testament to the power of a single individual to inspire others to live their lives with passion and purpose. His voice work as the genie in Aladdin redefined what was possible in animation and introduced his genius to a new generation of children. His portrayal of Sean Maguire in Good Will Hunting was a masterclass in understated, emotionally resonant acting, a performance that earned him his only Academy Award and reminded us all of the power of vulnerability. But beyond the awards and the accolades, his true legacy lies in the millions of lives he touched with his humor and his humanity. He was a man who used his own pain to create joy for others, a man who, despite his own immense suffering, never lost his capacity for kindness, empathy, and love. He was a flawed, complicated, and profoundly human individual, and it is precisely those imperfections that make his story so powerful and so enduring. He taught us that it is okay to laugh, even when we are crying. He taught us that it is okay to be vulnerable, even when we are strong. He taught us to seize the day, to make our lives extraordinary, and to never, ever give up on the people we love, because you never know what battles they might be fighting in the quiet, private corners of their own minds. The story of Robin Williams is not just a story of a celebrity, but a story of the human condition itself, the eternal struggle between light and dark, between laughter and tears, between the desire to connect and the fear of being truly known. He was a man who gave the world everything he had, who poured every ounce of his being into making others happy, often at the expense of his own well-being. In the end, the weight of his own brilliance and the relentless assault of a cruel disease proved to be too much for even his indomitable spirit to bear. But his light continues to shine, not in the form of a fading memory, but as a constant, living presence in the films he made, the characters he created, and the laughter he inspired. Every time we watch Dead Poets Society and feel the urge to stand on our desks and salute the captain, every time we hear the genie's manic, joyful voice, every time we smile at Mrs. Doubtfire's antics, we are honoring his memory. He may be gone, but he is not forgotten. He lives on in the hearts of everyone who ever laughed at one of his jokes, shed a tear during one of his dramatic performances, or felt a little less alone because of the joy he brought into the world. And perhaps, in the end, that is the most profound legacy of all. He showed us that even in the face of unimaginable darkness, there is still room for laughter. He showed us that the human spirit, in all its fragile, beautiful, and complex glory, is capable of creating something truly extraordinary. So, let us remember Robin Williams not for the tragic way his life ended, but for the magnificent way he lived it. Let us remember the laughter, the joy, the inspiration, and the profound, enduring love that he left behind. Because in a world that often feels too dark, too cynical, and too divided, we need his light now more than ever. We need to remember that even the greatest among us are only human, and that the most powerful thing we can ever do is to be kind to one another. This is the story of Robin Williams, a man who made the world laugh, and who, in doing so, made the world a better place. If this story of Robin Williams's incredible life and heartbreaking final days moved you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Before Die channel. We are dedicated to bringing you the most in-depth, respectful, and comprehensive biographies of the celebrities we've lost, ensuring their legacies live on. Tell us in the comments below, what is your favorite memory of Robin Williams? Was it the manic energy of Mork, the inspiring words of John Keating, or the hilarious chaos of Mrs. Doubtfire? We want to hear your stories. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of our Untold Celebrity Stories. Your support helps us continue to share these important narratives. Thank you for watching.